at an early stage. I already saw the possibilities, not just for XRP, but also for other blockchain. By that time, Ethereum was also coming up with the smart contracts. I thought it was really, really novel and useful, because I saw it as this is our chance to upgrade the financial system with new tools and new possibilities to be able to do things we weren't able to do before. So there were so many things already possible in the early days, also because law and legislation wasn't yet ready for it because they were too slow. It was already possible, and if it's not available, you can run it, right?
Hey, and welcome to Krippenreiter TV, a very special Christmas episode, hosted by me, Krippenreiter, and my regular co-host, Vet. This time, we welcome Tom Kuster as our guest on the show. He is an OG as one can be in the XRP community and was already fascinated by blockchain and XRP when I hadn't even heard of it. Together, we are also joined by the ghost of Christmas past, as we will talk about Ripple, XRPs, and all the good stuff from back in the day. Merry Christmas, you two. Hope you're both not on the naughty list this year.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah, frohe Weihnachten. Yeah. Happy
Feliz Navidad.
For the German community here.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Tom?
How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. It's the time of year, right, where everyone is focusing on their family and getting all the things ready for Christmas time. Which it is busy, but I do enjoy it. It's also a time for reflection, looking back, and that's also something we're going to do today. So that's cool.
Yeah, everybody going to either with their families or going home back to their parents.
Yeah,
me too. I also went back to my parents' house for the holidays, like a lot of people too.
Expect a lot of gifts, I think.
It's the quiet time of the year, so to speak. Quiet and stressful, it's like weird, it should be the quiet time, it's also the stressful time.
Yeah, all the deadlines, getting stuff finished before the end of the year.
Right.
But also a lot of eating and Christmas gifts, so I think that's the benefit.
So last time I met you, Tom, and actually Krippenreiter was in Berlin. You guys came visiting Berlin, and I'm looking there. That was like fantastic meeting both of you. Had like good lunch, good food.
Yeah.
So that was the last time, and great to have you now here to catch up on everything.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking forward to it a lot. So
actually, funny enough, because after you guys came, Dennis came as well to Berlin, and we also had dinner together. It was, I think, also his first time in Berlin or something like that. And he enjoyed it, I would say. He enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's good. It's and we're going to talk a lot about the olden days, but there's also a lot of people, like, for instance, Dennis, and I can name a lot of them that have added so much value to the ecosystem. Big shout out to Dennis. Christmas gift for him that provided so much new insights or old insights into the ecosystem, and we learned so much from him. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, maybe Tom, about talking about the past. Your background is actually XRPLabs, I think, right? You used to work for XRPLLabs. Yeah. Maybe for all the listeners that don't know you yet. Yeah. I mean, for us, you are like the OG. You are like one of the guys everyone knows, basically, in the XRPL community. But for new people listening in, or people that only care about XRP, maybe talk about yourself. Who are you actually?
Yeah, well, a lot of people may not know me in front of the camera, let's say it like that, but in the back, I've been around for a long time. Like you said, I worked at XRPLLabs, where I did a lot of the communications on support, but also when it comes to organizing events or going to events and things like support, where at XRPLLabs we get loads of questions, and there's like a small team of experts that help a lot of people with day-to-day questions to really very technical ones. And I'm more on the day-to-day stuff, not on the technical stuff. But I do know a lot from about the XRPL.
On this, only in-app support, folks. Only in-app
Only in app
support.
support, yeah.
Right. Don't get scammed on social media, please.
Yeah, so that's
Very
where
important.
people might know me from. I do have my own account on X and LinkedIn and stuff like that. But I did a lot behind the scenes, a lot of helping. And before I was at XRPLLabs, I did a lot of organizing small face-to-face events. And that's also where I met, for instance, Wietse from XRPLLabs, Wietse Wind. And I worked together with Ripple on these events. Why I did that is because when I was starting, I think this is a story a lot of people will recognize. I don't have a financial background. I don't have a technical background. I'm really good with people. I do understand technical stuff. But to learn about it, I need to dive in. I need to talk with people. I need to see the videos. I need to read the websites or whatever is available. And in the olden days, and I'm talking 2013, 2014, I was interested, before that I was interested in Bitcoin. And I thought it was really nice technology. It could replace or evolutionize the way we bank or transaction money. But I didn't like the proof of work stuff. I thought it was based on greed. And I thought, couldn't we do it differently? And I came across, was still called Ripple then. I came across Ripple, and they had a project that was called OpenCoin, where you could do. They mostly used it for Let's trading, which is
local exchange trading, right?
Yes, local exchange trading. There were some really great examples about that. And I thought, well, we could scale that up to a real economy, and that will effectively work. And I really liked the way the blockchain technology worked. And I thought, wow, let's see if it's real. How do people work with this? How do they build it? What do they need to set up to be able to transact with each other? And that's how I dove into to Ripple or XRP.
Who were the first people you encountered at that time that, other community members were some of the first names you could mention?
Yeah. There were some people on X or Twitter, and then there was a forum called Ripple Talk. So before XRP Talk, we had Ripple Talk, and that's where I encountered a lot of people, which I could really talk with. And there were, of course, a lot of people with nicknames.
Mm-hmm.
So that's always interesting because you don't know who they are really. I haven't I haven't wrote down any of the names, but there's a lot of people who are active. The guy who ran the forum, of course, was really cool that he was doing that. I think he was from France, and then there were multiple people in there that were doing all sorts of stuff from really looking at the trading part and to the really technical stuff. So I was of course searching for people in my neighborhood so that I can talk Dutch with them, preferably. It's I think when it comes to technical stuff, maybe you guys agree or disagree. It's nice to be able to talk in your own mother tongue. What do you say?
Yeah.
I think it's easier, but in the end, I think especially for us Germans, most of the terminology is English already.
Yeah.
So whatever you say in the end, you sound like English speaking anyway. But sure, like if it's getting really complicated, for sure you want to speak in your mother tongue, right?
Yeah, and it's a bit scary as well. For me at least, it's new technology. It's about money, and I really wanted to make sure it's not like a scam or anything. And there were plenty of scams going around by that time, and I was mainly looking into the if it like from a technical point of view, if it was real, if the technology could really be used for transactions, and
that it could scale, right, to the mass economy and to the average Joe trying to transact. And like back in the days, there was something like community credit and all these ideas behind RipplePay and IOU trading, and it was kind of mimicking what the traditional banking world was already doing. Yeah. But in a digitized way, in an easy to use and permissionless way, which made it very powerful.
Yes, and that's what made me really enthusiastic about it as well. My great granddad, before the First World War, he set up a farmers cooperative bank, and in a way, if you ask me, banking is really social. It is. You need it, and others need it as well to come by. In a rural area like where I grew up in the Netherlands, there's a lot of farmers, and if you farm, there's risk involved, and you want to like nature disasters or issues with crops failing. You want to make sure you, as a community, you help each other if things get tough, and that's where if it's up to me, banking is also about. It's not just about making the banks a lot of money or seeing it as a financial possibility. It is really social. It's what we need in day-to-day life to get by, like the local economy trading.
Yeah, but you have to push it into this direction. I think if you let banking do its thing, you will always end up with very centralized powers. And if you want to build a community around banking, you have to put in the work, which is what the XRP is all about, or was all about, still is about. I would say. I think the core ethos is still there, so this hasn't changed. But making banking accessible for anyone and maybe even easier. Or even possible at all, is what blockchain and XRPL especially is all about.
Yeah, I agree. It's so I already at an early early stage,
You're still young.
at an early stage, I already saw the possibilities, not just for XRP, but also for other blockchain. By that time, Ethereum was also coming up with the smart contracts. I thought it was really, really novel and useful, because I saw it as this is our chance to upgrade the financial system with new tools and new possibilities to be able to do things we weren't able to do before. There was, for instance, at some point in Dresden, a music festival that used blockchain to pay the artist and the delivery people and the people that are running the bar with XRP, and they used already used like a NFC. To notice that someone is in. If you want to pay, you tap with your wrist, and then the payment you buy tokens up front. So there were so many things already possible in the early days. Also because law and legislation wasn't yet ready for it because they were too slow. It was already possible, and
blockchain was too new.
And if it's not available, you can run it, right?
True. If no one is stopping you, you will you will use whatever there's there. And especially in the early days when you are still able to be innovative because most things are still not there, I think it's the opportunities are there to try out stuff and to see if it works. And because the XRPL with its primitives is so easy to get by because you have all this API stuff and you can just tap into what is already there. You don't have to recode everything because you can access whatever there's there already. It's really easy to try to just try out if something is working. Like, I don't know, gated service via NFT. Very easy. Yeah. All you need is a wallet and an NFT service, and then maybe you still need a bot to manage to organize how it should work. Yeah. Like this could be like an off-chain component, but in the end, the foundation is there. You have IOUs, you have a DEX, you can pay anybody, anything. And it's all very cheap. You don't have to be rich to do it. You can do it with just a few cents.
Yeah, and that's also what attracted I think people like Vet and also for instance Wietse. They were able to set up the technology so quickly. Within minutes, you got things running, and then you already are in a network where you can do stuff you were barred from in the traditional banking sector. So it is exciting, and that's also what I noticed when I was organizing the events in the early days, talking 2015 to 2017, let's say. There were in the beginning it was difficult to find developers because they were having the same questions as me. Aren't they? This must be a scam, or there are so many other blockchains. Why should I bother with this one? But there were loads of entrepreneurs and people that had certain dreams they were not able to do in the traditional sense, that suddenly had possibilities with stuff like Ethereum and XRP or Ripple. So yeah, it was great. It was an exciting place as well where I would organize. The first event I organized was with I contacted Ripple, and they had Ryan Terriblini, who was head of developer relations then, and he said, "Well, I'll send you a presentation." And I don't know if I can show it, but I still have it, of course. He sent it to me, and later he said, "Well, I can take you through if you have people showing up. I'll call in and I'll show it to you." And later you saw that uptick as well, that more and more people were willing to do meetups. Also all around the world, which was really cool. I at one point had I worked with Ripple to organizing in the same weekend meetups all around the world, which was really cool because like a marketing opportunity, but also it makes you realize that there are a lot of people that are interested in this tech as well, and you are not crazy, and you are enthusiastic for a reason, and that was really cool. How many people came? Well, let's say 8, including my mother.
Awesome.
Yeah, what always like fascinates me is what you mentioned, that you have across the globe so many people, and that you are not seeing until you see them, right? They are there, but once they make themselves visible, or you see these events, you see these pictures, you're like, oh my gosh, like they're like, I mean, this is like your time, like, we go like back 10 years, but even like nowadays, I'm still like fascinated when I see the XRP Korea event. I saw so many people. I was like, this is more than Apex was. Like, where are these people?
Yes.
But Korea is huge into XRP. But then you see, like, of course, in Europe, we had like in Amsterdam with Apex, and like everywhere you find a lot of people who are so passionate about this. And sometimes even for different reasons than yourself, which is fascinating.
That's
they don't
true.
agree with me, but they're passionate about the same technology. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But the language barrier is pretty high, I think. That's the most.
Too.
I think that's the biggest issue with the South Koreans and with the Japan people.
Yeah.
because there is just no way to access this community without speaking not only their language but reading the symbols as well. There is no easy way, no easy translation to get behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't speak the same language, but we understand each other, in the sense that we both like XRP and XRP.
That's true.
Yeah, and for instance, what I also did is I did contact I didn't contact Korean community because I wasn't able to find them. They used in other parts of the world, they use different technologies as well to search for stuff, to communicate with each other. I did. I don't know if it's 2017 or 18. I think around that time, there was like a big meetup in Japan, and I saw something about that. There were a couple of people that did speak Japanese and English. Also, there was a German guy in Japan who was doing like a little bit of translations here and there. And I made a banner for the meetups, and I sent the banner to Japan so that they could use it there at the meetup, which was really cool. And they used it. So I have some old friends from way back in Japan who we can hardly speak together, but we were bounded by the same enthusiasm and still are in touch with each other.
That what fascinates me.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's what fascinates me. That's what you said. Like we don't understand each other, like in the sense of the language barrier, but we share the same passion. And that's cool.
Yeah, and that's also what why I'm still here. It's some people from the olden days have left. Some are still here.
Or came back even.
Yeah, from way back. And some people get stuck at some point, get frustrated that that's not there yet. And I had that time. I think I had a couple of times where I just had to take a step back because I was frustrated. It goes so slow. At some point, you realize what the potential is and what can be done. And you really want the technology to be used. But it's not, they can't for all sorts of reasons. The technology is not ready yet, or the
compliance.
Compliance. I was in Madrid 2 weeks ago, where I had a really interesting event where two compliance officers were talking about from Crypto.com and N26, which is a German neobank.
Shout out to Jose at that point in time because he did a great job at moderating.
He really did. Yeah. He also has a banking background. It's also amazing how many intelligent and smart people are in this space. It's so inspiring as well. It's I feel that the next step is the compliance and the legal departments and the people really have to make way and make the world ready for crypto.
Right, because the tech is there. Some of it was already there like 10 years ago, and it was perfectly working back then. But everything around it was missing. And I think maybe even back in the day, I would say it was more about the tech and less about numbers go up. Or maybe it was both, because you hope numbers will go up if the tech is working, but then you saw that the tech isn't getting as adapted as it should be, or not as fast as it could be. So you're frustrated that the price is staying down, or maybe like everything is not as fast, and the success isn't there. But on this, maybe even, I remember back in the day, you would actually get XRP for free, right? There was this initiative called Computing for Good, and you would get. I saw this on the XRP chat forum. You would get thousands of XRP. No, it was the Bitcoin forum, I think. Even the Bitcoin forum. You would get thousands.
They had this up.
Yeah, and there was like you would get many thousand XRP if you just wrote your R address in the comments. And this was also the time when the the negative initiative from the Bitcoiners started against Ripple and XRP, where people actually got paid for
Paid in Bitcoin.
Paid in Bitcoin for negative marketing, for spreading FUD and lies about Ripple and XRP.
Oh, there were
Really
some great
times.
websites about for the. I think it was called FUD Bingo or something, where there was they had the different facts or the different FUDs, and then you could click on it, and then it would say wrong, or this is this is not correct, or this is the real answer. I never understood the negativity. I understand that people get paid, of course, to be negative. But when I was going through to events around that time, sometimes people were really aggressive, almost aggressive. And I'm almost 2 meters tall, so it's quite difficult to be aggressive to me. But when I was bringing up different technology than Bitcoin, and I said, well, if you want to do fast and cheap transactions, what about consensus? What's wrong with it? And then I would just play to the 51% attack thing, just because I learned about it as well, right? Before I didn't know, and then I would. So if people would be negative, I would go to these events and I would listen, and I would say, I have to check that with someone who knows and that can explain it to me.
It's fascinating. I think because even at Apex, there were many people asking me a lot of questions that are really basic stuff, like can Ripple inflate the coins at will, and stuff like this. Very easy to argue against these comments because they are just factually wrong, and it's really easy to help people understand it better. But it's fascinating that even today, there's still so many open questions that were answered 10 years ago, right?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest, I guess the main almost FUD point that persisted till this day, I would say, is about the pre-mine. Basically people hey, I can mine and I can get Bitcoin, or I mine and a fork of Bitcoin, right? Like any other coins, and then I can get the token. And here you couldn't mine like on the Ripple Ledger back then, right? The token was already distributed. You need to ask basically, and they were doing giveaways or stuff like this, and that rubbed people the wrong way, right? Like saying, hey, you sit on all these tokens. I cannot mine this on Bitcoin. I can mine this. This is, I would say, still today it's a point where it's debated.
Yeah, because they learn about blockchain at some point, and they learn about proof of work, and some of them stop there.
Yeah,
which is logically, because then they say, well, this is the technology. I'm not gonna invest more time into it because now I understand how it works. So I do understand. I actually do understand people when they are critical and sometimes even get angry. Or there's a lot of I really like this term white knights in all the different blockchain ecosystems. I think it's logical. If you find your champion, you want to keep it. It's the thing that you look up to, and instead of so that's something I do really well. I think I would have angry customers of Zaman or Zam contact us, and if you if you acknowledge their frustration or their anger and try to explain to them, some people you can't help really, but if you try to explain to them where it comes from and how the XRP or the Ripple ecosystem is different, or how the technology works differently, then at some point, if they're open for the information, actually you'll make a fan of them. So making them angry, from getting them to angry to realizing how powerful the technology is and what it can be used for, is the biggest compliment I was working for.
I think specifically, with your part in the support, and you support Zaman in the tech support there, it's like certain things that you can't do. Like for example, reversing a transaction. If you are a bank, you can pull all efforts to make that happen. You cannot say, "Oh, okay, sorry, yeah, no problem. We're gonna do a reverse transaction for you on the XRP Ledger." If someone sent a payment and it's validated, you cannot do anything.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard. And now explain this to someone who just did that.
Who lost the fortune, right?
Yeah. It's terribly. That's a painful one, because there's a lot of people fall for scams.
Yeah.
And then realize that they lost all their lifetime savings, or when they're lucky and they invested in good security, for instance, with the Tangent cards, they didn't lose it.
Right.
Or they were fortunate enough to have different accounts, and only one of their accounts is compromised, and they still have a chance to save their other accounts. They can be so happy. There's of course terrible stories where there's crying people. It's hard, right? It depends. So we had sometimes hundreds of messages per day. The moment it's a bit quieter there, but the depending on how the state of crypto is, it can be really, really booming. It is, and I think both of you will have had these conversations with other people as well. Them contact you through DMs, and that you have to tell them, well, sorry, it is sent, it's finalized. This is the power of blockchain. I'm sorry.
On this, Tom, did you ever had, because we typically hear about people reporting, "Oh, I lost in a scam or something."
Huh?
Did you had ever someone actually saying, "Hey, I got 100,000 XRP sent to me out of nowhere. Like, what should I do?" Did you ever get something like that?
I didn't, but I do believe I had a colleague who had someone, and then or what we used to do is if you. So if it's not a scam, but if it is someone who mistakenly sent XRP to another person, a wrong R address, we would well, they have to do it themselves, of course, because it's a self-custodial wallet. But you can use the comment field to try and communicate, and we had success with that. Where they would be able to get their XRP back.
I believe that there was even one case with Tiffany Hayden.
Yeah, right.
They were chatting with someone who I guess scammed or whatever, took the XRP or something, and they said, "Hey, this is funds for my parents or for my children, something like this," and they actually sent them back, and they were celebrating that the scammer sent them back the funds.
Yeah,
I was like, wow.
Yeah, Tiffany Hayden, big shout out to her. It's a long time. I don't know if you guys can see this.
Yeah,
this is one of her quotes.
Dog my pay.
Dog my pay bit. So she was a really active community member, and very intelligent woman, and she was there for the revolution. She really was into the tech, and she was a purist. I think she's sometimes still active on Twitter. She used to be really active on the XRP chat forums, helping other people, but also discussing the different technical possibilities, which was really funny because she's an atypical person, right? She's a woman and knows her tech. I was fortunate enough to meet her in a meetup I organized in Amersfoort. I don't know which year it was, but there were many people coming from all around the world to a meetup I organized with Wietse in Amersfoort, including Nick Bugales, who was working there at the time, and Tiffany, and many other people as well. I'm not sure, you didn't attend that, right?
No, I did not attend that. But I saw a video actually of her where she was filming it, and I saw Wietse was like on stage, and he was like thanking everybody who came. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What also was really cool about that event was that we already had the point of sale system. So you were able to pay for your beers with XRP then.
Nice.
I can tell you nowadays those beers would have been very expensive. But it was already possible. I was already doing, and not a lot of people know this. I was looking around for the tech constantly. There was a German bank called Fugger Bank. They're no longer here anymore. They were actively working with Ripple, and they already had a gateway to. I was able to send from my German bank account euros to dollars through Ripple, to the Ripple network,
Oh.
and I have the I have the transactions to prove it. But not a lot of people know it, and the gateway of course is already long gone because they couldn't they were not ready yet. There was no basis on laws and legislation when it came to that. But technology wise, we were able to do it, and banks were doing it as well. So I think it was a Wells and Fargo bank that I sent it to. I'm not sure anymore.
There was like one story that I think David Schwartz always tells in the early days, about 2013, 14, is like when suddenly there was a lot of CNY, Japanese yen, and it was Chinese yuan who were traded, on the DEX because people were finding each other, and there was like a lot of volume actually for that day or for this period. And then after people were settling their business, after weeks, it was everybody went their way again.
Well, I can up that one more. Even there was a guy who was doing foreign exchange trading on the XPL. So he was using the Chinese yuan. He was a Chinese guy, and forex was trading on the DEX. The technology was already there, guys. So we were able to do it, and like you said, there was some volume. He was forex trading US dollar Bitstamp to US dollar another exchange.
Yeah.
So he was playing around with trading opportunities, and he created a token where you could buy his token, and he would trade with the money that was available to him because you would buy the token in Chinese yuan, which you could trade on the DEX for XRP or whatever you wanted. And he would use the money to trade, and then you get daily dividends paid out.
That's interesting. So he was a market maker and was giving you basically nice.
So basically, already this what all the Vault owners these days do.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah, and it was already there. The tech was already there. So I was really enthusiastic about these sorts of things. I thought, well, if we can do this, if you can set this up that easily, in 5 years, banks are going to be here using this system to do the same thing. Well, it turned out differently, but we're getting there, I hope.
Yeah, we are getting closer, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's very clear what is missing right now. I think it's not like back in the day the tech was there and you weren't aware really. You were guessing what is missing, but you weren't really aware. But right now it's very clear. We need more tokenization. We need legislation, regulation, compliance. We need smart contracts. We need privacy. Like it's not that big of a deal anymore. Like we know what's missing and how to get there, and now we maybe need a few more years, and then it should be ready and mass adopted.
I really think it's always like the devil is in the detail. Like you try to do this, then you want to scale it up, and okay, now is this legislation compliance ready? Oh, now someone is asking for privacy. The other part is asking for programmability. It's like, it's in the detail. Like the vision is clear. Like you want to have like global finance that is decentralized, public to anyone. Yeah.
And also, for instance, when it comes to new types of products or products that we were not able to do, There was a guy, and I can't remember his name, his Twitter name. He was from the insurance space,
Mhm.
and he realized that he could use this technology to make insurance. I always call it jokingly friendsurance. You
Oh,
can,
you mean comma coverage?
yeah, camera coverage. Yes,
Comma coverage.
awesome. Thank you. I always hope that he will build it, because there's so many possibilities with the technology, and with for instance how it would be even easier, but also with the new possibilities coming to the XRP chain as well. There's so much possible technology wise with products that are at the moment custodied because they need to be custodied and the technology is in house, to getting it on chain because it's possible. Again, we need laws and legislation, like you said, Krippenreiter. So yes, there was so much great thinking already done then, and it's just waiting for laws and legislation, but also universities and people to validate these theoretical ideas and really research them into to make sure it is viable and it's technically correct, etc., etc. Projects like Ubri from Ripple, and also the INFTF that collaborates with the Tallinn University on multiple levels, is really what we need to do, because that's making it more legit, and we are in that phase, like you said, Krippenreiter.
Not too far in the future, I think.
No.
What would you say? Just a few more years, or are we talking 10 years from now? Crystal ball guess.
You go first, Fat.
I think really it's a moving target. It's like we will grow as an ecosystem and adoption as well, but I don't believe like in sort of like this, like immediately. I think it's like a gradually more and more people will use it, more people will build it. So I would say in 5 years we have more than today, and in 10 years we will have more than in 5 years. So yeah,
Makes sense.
basically that's
no flip the switch.
Yeah.
Don't bring that up.
Well, I didn't want to say flip the switch, but I wanted to say, I would say it depends on the catalyst. If there's a good reason, catalysts are not always positive. So let's say a war or a big financial crash. It might be that it will be a lot sooner than we think. And if not, if the catalyst is not there, then it's going to be something like what you were saying, that it's going to take more time. It also might be that it's an emerging market where it starts off and then it grows it grows, and it has a certain momentum where because of a failing economy in Africa, other countries, surrounding countries, are also using the technology, and because they're using the technology, it becomes very popular, and the people from that country that are working abroad are also starting to use it because it's global technology. It might as well pop up sooner than later. So positively saying 2 years, and otherwise 5 years.
So I'm actually really curious. When did you start getting to know some of the more people that you worked with, like Richard, Wietse, and so on? Was it a time where you started hosting events, and then you basically collaborated? Because I believe prior to Zaman, there was like the Toast Wallet, right, by Richard.
Richard, yeah.
Exactly, and that sort of, and then he later joined, I guess, Zaman, right,
Yeah.
as a developer. So maybe you can take us like how that journey was also for
Sure.
you in the community.
So it all started off with it was quite difficult to get XRP when in the beginning. let's say 2013, when you wanted to start playing around with XRP, you needed a account, and to be able to get an account, you needed it to be activated. If you wanted it to be activated, you needed 50 XRP. I think so, which was nothing, right? 0.00006 cents. But there were no exchanges. So how? Like you said, there were some possibilities to get some XRP for free, but there was also like faucets where you could get XRP. At some point, you could get your account activated, and there was a wallet called RippleTrade, which was awesome. I really enjoyed using it. It was web based. It was really difficult to get in, but when you were in, there was a wallet called RippleTrade, and it already had everything. Pathfinding was already there. You could really get easy access to the DEX. So it's all. I was really impressed by it. It was really fast. It worked well. So as a community, we were helping people to onboard by sending them 50 XRP from our own money and telling them to pay forward, etc., etc. This was mostly done through the Ripple chat forum. Ripple had their own forums as well, by the way. I think they're closed now, but there was also a lot of information there. So at some point, there were other people developing wallets, like the Toast wallet from Richard Holland, and later on, people like Wietse, who was also working on wallets. Ali was working on his own wallet. There were multiple people looking at it, and they were, of course, on those forums. And I was lurking on those forums mostly on the technical stuff. Because I wasn't technical inclined, but I did contact them and ask them, hey, do you want to? Do I need to connect you with someone, or I'm going to organize an event. You want to come as well? And people like Richard was too far away, but Wietse was in my local area, and there were also people in Germany. So I also organized an event in Bonn. And most of my events I did in the Netherlands, but there is an active community in Germany as well. Casino Coin, for instance, has also people there. Dixon, he was really awesome developer as well, and I contacted him early, and I said, well, if you want to drop by, I'm organizing an event, meet other people, see what you can do. And what I really noticed with developers want to build stuff, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not into these social events per se, but when they do show up, it is something magical, and they do come back. They do enjoy meeting other people that are enthusiastic about the tech.
That's true.
But what I think is pretty fascinating is that all these guys are still here. Like they never left. They are still working in the background. Nixer, for example, he's still there.
Yeah.
Building the API stuff and everything.
Yeah.
And Nixer is great.
Yeah, he is. Nixer is really great, and big shout out to him.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of people that stopped working on stuff as well, but they also sometimes come back. And sometimes they move on to other stuff, to other blockchains, to it really depends. But doing social events can result in them or coming back or staying because it's fun, and people need to relax and talk with each other every now and then, not just code away to the night.
True. Maybe even changes in the protocol itself as well. Like maybe you left because something was missing.
Yeah.
Like we saw this with Zahao, for example. They never really left, but they kind of left because of Zahao. But let's say we get XLS 101 back to the XRP Ledger. I can see maybe every one of them going back and actually developing smart contracts or smart features on the XRPL, which they otherwise would build on Zahao.
Yeah.
Yeah, or think like this. Once you have like capabilities because there was like this trustless bridging or
True.
trust minimized bridging through zero knowledge. So there could be then connections, better bridges between multiple chains so that people can, build where they want to build or where they can build. But what you mentioned is really great because that's always like the impression from Apex when you go to Apex is like, people know the first day is typically the welcome, Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all the old Apex. I have more, but I didn't find it.
Yes, the lanyards, yeah, is like the welcoming. So people go into the lobby and they meet each other. Everybody's arriving, grab some drinks, and then, the developers are already starting like, talking about use cases, things to do. It's fun, yeah.
Yeah, and so what I always want to encourage people is is if you're not a developer, it doesn't mean you cannot develop the ecosystem or the network. Come up with your own ideas or come up with plans. I don't know if we're gonna quickly. I'm gonna see if I can show it to you guys.
Yes.
Yeah. You can see. Yeah.
So
the Ripple coin. Yeah.
This is a Ripple coin. This is. I'm not going to show the back because there's a QR code on it.
Okay.
There was a guy who said, well, I'm not a coder, but I do really love this technology. And I'm not really super social, but I'm active on the forums. And I want to do something to make it more visible and more tangible. Make a real token, make a real coin. In this case, this is a golden coin. He added a QR code on the back with a secret, which is not very smart in hindsight. But hey, the whole idea was that you could have something tangible in your hand. So at some point, you saw a lot of cryptos having physical tokens you could play with and work with, just because it's fun. And he was making that as well. And trying to connect it to the real world and making it well. In this case, there was a wallet behind it with a number of XRP on it. And the fun thing was, it was the XRP to the Moon project. So he created the coins, and the idea was to send one of these coins with a moon mission to the moon, so that you were able to send money to the moon and back because the wallet was there. Sadly, it didn't go through, so his package wasn't sent, or the whole mission got cancelled, I believe. But the coin actually ended up in a museum in Canada.
Wow.
Yeah.
What is this one specific thing that you missed from back then that you would wish you could bring back in next year?
So nothing. I think things take their course, and we will see what exciting new things next year will bring. There were things from back in the day that were really amazing, and we'll see the same or other stuff happening next year. One, you said the questions that were asked then are still relevant for new people tomorrow. They will be asked and asked again. So it's also being patient, and maybe it's an invitation. If you have been listening to the Krippenreiter show and you know a little bit about XRP or more about blockchain, help other people to onboard. Be patient, because you know the questions you had, they will probably have as well. Help them.
You can make a change, right?
Yes.
So.
Right. Awesome. About
Christmas spirit.
Christmas spirits, right?
Yeah.
What about you, Vet? What is it that you want to bring back next year?
Bring back?
Yeah, but that you would want to bring back next year, if you could.
Well, if I could, is I would say sort of that everybody gets hungry again. Nice. Hungry in the sense of, let's do it, like bring back sort of the doer mentality that, hey, we can do it. Let's get started. Let's, basically support each other to really get this rolling. and not to sit on basically, yeah, we are very high up, we have a high market cap or something like this, but to actually see it as a constant grind, you know, that we strive to do like better in 2 months than now, and so on, right? So that's, and I would love to see everybody getting like really hands-on in 2026, really hungry to tackle whatever is coming our way, because there's a lot to do, you know, and that's the beautiful thing.
Awesome. Yeah, guys, I really hope you all enjoyed the Christmas episode this time. I wish you and your family a lovely day, a lovely week, and happy holidays. And lots of presents, of course. And until next time. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye. Happy holidays.